Welcome back to the Latinas Make a Difference tour. We hope that you guys are having so much fun as we're checking out all of the sessions. But most of all, we hope that you're feeling inspired and empowered to raise your voices at the ballot between now and November 3rd. So today our focus is on Florida. It's another huge state with a huge Latina population, with experts, activists, and some of your favorite personalities joining us throughout the day. Now, we're going to kick things off by hearing from inspiring women in making a difference in the private, grassroots organizing, and government sectors. They will share what they're doing each and every day to help out the Latinx community. Then we're going to listen to a conversation in Espanol between two Latinas discussing the process of becoming a U.S. citizen and voting for the first time and how they felt after all of it. And later in the day, we're going to switch things up a little bit with our Latina Power Hour that's all about self-care with a wellness expert and a virtual Zumba class. That's going to be happening with fellow Latinas from all over the country. And don't forget that before you go to bed, our daily after hours gozadera is going to be happening in the virtual She Se Puede Lounge with Florida DJ Miss Marina. So we got a full day of things in store for us today, including a few surprises. So be sure you check in with us all day long and have an amazing time. We'll see you on the tour.
Peace, Queen. Seems we never spoke, never crossed till now. Here to let you know, one of you equals zero shown. No other, let your mirror glow. Your essence is golden. Your message is spoken. You will be heard. No question, just own it because it's yours. Stronger than the militant, calmer than the river sets. Taught herself that she isn't them. Ever since I learned what I'm capable of, the queendoms that I'm able to run, not oppressed by the labels they sung. Look today in the face, said you graciously come, save the world, but life starts with the ladies for one. Sun sets in the forming moons. Realize the world's your womb. See, Ma, I wore your jewels next to the heart of my sleeve. How queens think is beyond what it seems. Seen their people for what all they can be. I see your strengths, your resilience, your commitment, humbleness, despite religions of timidness who cover your significance and cover it with wickedness. Still the phoenix needed fire to rise, a sequence to inspire her drive. Create leaders to remind us we shine, igniting the minds and complexity realms. Knowledge is self, a true college of wealth. overshadow the assumptions, overpower all the judgment, claim your blessing in abundance, indulge in the moment at hand. Don't forget where he stands. Respect to the role of a man. Coexist so we grow as a fam. A queen knows where her value demands. Heal it in her method. Embellishing, I left it. Elegance, I kept it. Aura of an empress. Spirit is majestic. Queen.
Woo! Hello, Florida. Hola, mi gente, mis mujeres, everybody that's tuning in here in the Sunshine State and elsewhere in the country. What an amazing plan for the day. Oh my God, we got first-time voters, gozadera, that empowering poem. I am so honored to be here to now lead the discussion as to how everyday Latinas are making a grassroots effort in our community. My name is Mariana Atencio, journalist, best-selling author, motivational speaker, and the co-founder of Go Like, my multimedia production company dedicated to telling our Latinx stories. As a small business owner based in Miami, Florida, I know that the support of other women, like my business partner, like the women who we're going to be speaking to today, is critical for Latinas to get ahead. It's critical for Latinas to show face and be counted this November. So that is why today I am, again, just thrilled to be talking about how Latinas can make an impact in our communities in many ways. And we're going to be talking to some inspiring mujeres making a difference in the private, in terms of grassroots organizing sector as well, and in government. So let's meet our panelists. I have the great honor of introducing Samí Haiman Marrero, President and CEO of Urbander, a minority and women-owned agency that helps companies overcome their diversity, inclusion, and marketing challenges. Samí, bienvenida.
Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes. We have former teacher Johanna Lopez, who is now a Florida District 2 school board member. Johanna, ¿cómo estás? And finally, Ashley Figueroa, a transgender activist and community organizer. Miss Ashley, where are you?
Here I am. Hello, Florida. Hello, Latinas. Great to have you all here today.
So I know I'm the only one in Miami. The three of you are in Orlando, and the eyes of the nation, it seems, are on this state. It's a must-win state, November 3rd, but it's also a state where Latinas and representation of Latinas is becoming bigger and bigger by the minute, and I know I have the three of you to thank. So let's start our discussion today by talking about how you've dedicated your career to work that, you know, not only benefits you, but that really helps causes and our people. What called you, and Ashley, I'm going to start with you. What called you to take the path that you chose?
Thank you, Mariana. Yes. So for me, you know, it was empowerment piece. I realized I'm a servant, a public servant. I love helping people. And I realized that, you know, in our community, oftentimes we are not often thought of and invited to these tables. And because I have that privilege that I get to work with, you know, different communities and groups, I decided that I was going to utilize that privilege to, you know, help empower my community at large, the Latina community, the transgender community, LGBTQ+. So that's how I got to doing this type of work and learning about, honestly, each individual story, each individual that I come across. Every single individual has a unique story, and it's about taking those stories and, you know, empowering those individuals and also sharing it with the world so that we can all come together, because there's strength in numbers. And when we unite, you know, we see that, you know, we make the change, you know, we achieve what we're looking to do. So that's how, honestly, I got to do the work that I do.
Congratulations to you. I mean, you hit on so many important points. And as a storyteller, I know firsthand the power that stories have, right? Our world is really made up of stories and what each of us believe. But if there's only one voice and one story being told, that's a disservice to the diversity that exists. So what I love about this panel is that we have three amazing Latinas making a difference and telling those stories and giving our community visibility in different sectors. So now, Samí, to you, you know, what was that moment where you said, oh my God, like this is about something so much bigger than myself?
To me, it was in 2008 when I lost my job. We're going through a recession now, right? A situation where a lot of people are losing their jobs. So I've been there. 12 years ago, I was one of the millions that had lost their jobs during the past recession. And so I was faced with a decision. What path do I take? And at that moment, I kind of had no choice because unemployment checks were running out. And so I just had to bank on the 12 years experience I had in Hispanic media to go ahead and just start my own business in those uncertain times. And so it was very scary. But now when you look at the numbers, 87% of growth in Latino business ownership has occurred since 2007. So I'm one of that percentage, so I'm part of that engine that's now fueling the economy, creating jobs and creating new spheres of influence. And it's just been an honor to now, with this experience, be able to support other women that are now facing that decision. What do I do now? Because again, we need to feed the babies or our families. And so it's a viable option. I'm proof of it. My story is not unique. There's millions of other Latinas and women out there who've also decided to take this path of entrepreneurship and have done so successfully. Y she se puede. You can too. The important thing is to get involved, though, in the community and just make sure that together we create the right environment for all of us to have equal access and to be able to thrive.
No, and I think for us, we're like a big familia where I see it myself. I took the road or the path to being a small business owner just this year in the middle of a pandemic, no less. So I don't, it's tough for me to look up information on the internet or what do I do for the business? I want to call up somebody like you, Samí, and be like, amiga, ¿qué hago? Can you guide me? So that support is critical. And Johanna, I want to hear from you. In the education sector, so important. It's the future of this country. What made you say, this is the path that I want to choose in this field?
Interesting. I highly appreciate that question because when I became Teacher of the Year in 2017, I received that call from one of my former students and said, congratulations, but now it's time to run for school board. I said, are you crazy? I'm not going to run for school board. I have a huge accent. I say, no, that doesn't matter. You have the commitment and you're going to represent us. You know our struggle. You're Hispanic. You have an accent. You have, and for 20 years, just fighting with our communities, the undocumented families need what they need, the struggles that they have. So I think that you can be an asset to the school board. We don't have any Latina in the school board. We need somebody who speaks Spanish. We need somebody that we can feel related to us. So I decided to run. At the beginning, I was struggling. Can I do it? I don't feel that comfortable. But even that student told me, I'm going to help you from here. At that time, he was in Princeton University, and he used to be an English language learner. So when he was my student, he told me, I would love to be a valedictorian. Can you help me? Of course, I can help you. So I don't believe that I can achieve that because I have an accent. I don't feel comfortable with my language. So you know what? You're very smart. You can do it. I can help you. We need to be in contact with the counselor and 2 other counselors. We have to work as a team because I believe that you can be a valedictorian. And he became valedictorian and he ran my campaign. So when we ran the campaign, we did not have any experience on running campaigns here in Central Florida, but we make a huge movement with former students from our community. We have LGBTQ community from the students population. We also have ELLs. The majority of my students during the campaign did not vote, but they knock on doors, more than 35,000 doors, more than 30,000 texts. It was an amazing movement. I believe it was a movement. I just saw students that at the beginning did not dare to speak English or try to speak English because of their accent, because they just listening to me, they say, okay, Lopez is doing it, I can do it as well. So I saw saw a lot of people even crying on the doors when the students were knocking on that doors and say, can you please vote for my teacher? And just explain, what I did with them and for them. And they, I am here because of them as well, because I grew up with them and they helped me a lot. I think that even the confidence that I have right now and saying that my accent is an asset is because of them as well. So that was the that I have to choose because of them.
No, I always say, and I wrote it in my book, accents should be worn as medals. So medallas, because it actually shows that you speak more than one language. Not everybody can say that. And I think that it was the same thing when I started doing NBC News nationally, right? Where I'm like, am I going to pronounce my name Mariana? Like, I still have like a slight accent, but it's not changing who you are so that other people, like your students, can say, oh, look, she made it and I can make it too. And I don't have to change who I am. You talked about the importance of representation in your work. And I would love to hear from Ashley and from Samí. Why is representation so important? Why do we need more Latinas in your specific sectors? And Samí, you can start if you want.
When I was working in media, and this was in New York City, I very quickly realized when I started that there was very little representation in leadership of people that looked like me or sounded like me or that had my life experiences and my culture. And so I very much felt invisible at the beginning of my career. And it was hard to find mentors because although there's alignment from a human to human level with certain people, and you eventually do find a mentor, to have someone that from a cultural perspective, that has the cultural competency to really relate to your thoughts and your ideas and your struggles really does make a difference and helps for a deeper connection with that mentor, and also to help build confidence. And so I feel that when I took the path of entrepreneurship, I wanted to really embed myself in my local community, because in whatever way I could influence or serve as a model and show up, right, as a female and then Latina business owner, for other people to see that and that it does exist, especially with the huge growth that's been experienced, right, in the last 12 years or so here in this country. And so as the years have gone by, and just knowing the numbers of Latinos that exist in this country and where we're headed in terms of growth, I've come to realize that we're not invisible at all. We're actually invincible. And so it's a very gratifying thing when you show up and eventually your voice is heard, and you can see how you can collaborate with others to edify community and really put Latinas in the right places and in the right limelight and light.
I love it. We're not invisible, we're invincible. And that happens when we come together. Ashley, I'd love to hear from you. I mean, I'm sure you have an incredible story and can bring home for us why in your field representation is so critical.
Yes, very similar to what Samí mentioned. But, I believe that there is power when we allow Latinas to actually tell our own stories, to make decisions for ourselves, as a group. And because of that, that's why representation is so important, because we are able as Latinas, just because we are Latinas, and like you mentioned, the fact that we have an accent, that is like, a trophy in itself, like a gold medal that we should wear. And we're able to, fulfill all those dreams and aspirations that we have as Latinas in all facets of society. And that's the reason why, when we empower ourselves to be in these positions and included, then yes, we are invincible.
I love it. And I think going back to what Samí said, because I also work in the media field, I always ask myself, like, why aren't there more Latina reporters, like Latina anchors? Like, I don't understand. I meet all of these young, hungry, talented, experienced Latinas at the local level telling me like, Mariana, how can I make it to the national level? And I'm like, why isn't like, why aren't there more doors open to us? And it's because we need more of us in those rooms that where the executive decisions are made. Like, we need more Latina executives in every field. Or as Hamilton would sing, like, in the room where it happens. You know, that's what we need, the three of you. Anyway, so how can Latinas begin to make an impact, like in our own lives and communities, right? I want attendees to also walk away today, the people that are listening to us, to say, there may not be, you know, a mentor that I can rely on or someone that will open the door for me. So how can I take it upon myself to say, you know what? I'm going to take charge of opening a seat at the table for myself. Anyone can start with this question.
Yes, if go ahead, Joanna. Go ahead.
I think that sometimes, we have a lot of groups that want to make a difference in our women community, but they're not women. They want to talk about women rights, but they are not women. They want to talk about single mothers, but they're not mothers. And I think that we have to be in charge of those topics, and we have to be in charge of those seats. For example, in Orange County Public School, we have 100% women in our seats. All of them, we are women, but we did not have any Latina. So it's also important to have a Latina who understands the struggles of the Latinx community as well. So I think that is vital to have, to start having those conversations and start identifying people, Latinx women in our community that should be able to run for different seats. Because when we have women that we feel related, we feel more free to speak our own language. We feel more free to talk about cultural topic that sometimes maybe we don't dare to speak about it. In my specific case, as a single mother and also as a Afro-Caribbean, I always have a lot of single women talking about problems. They feel free to call me. They feel free to email me in Spanish, not even from my district. So I know, they know that I'm not gonna judge. They know that I'm gonna be their voices. But one person alone is not enough. We need more women to be engaged. And I think that lately we are very, very popular in elections. I think that if we have a few men and one woman, I think that the woman is getting all the votes. Something we're doing good that everybody wants to vote for women. So I think that we should be keep running for seats.
So the takeaway from Johanna is, let's tell our own stories in our own terms. If there's like a dude talking about like Latinx women or someone who's not Latina, like, just raise your hand, make that phone call, send that text, send that email, and say, like, I'm the right person to be telling this story because it's about my community. I have unique access and understanding to the issues on the ground. Ashley, we all ears.
Yes, and to better, to piggyback from that as well, is that to advocate for ourselves. When we have an individual who truly understands what it's like to be, a Latina, and that's just a part of who we are. It's not who we are as a whole, right? That doesn't take away from the fact that we are professionals, that we are parents, that we're able to, function in all aspects. And so the fact that we have a Latina in those positions of power is allowing us to advocate for ourselves, for our group. And that's what helps us create the change and achieve that equality and progression that's needed.
I love that. Advocate for ourselves. Takeaway number 2, Samí, last but not least.
I feel like it's inevitable that we're going to be influencing our society and our communities just by the sheer numbers. If you think that 18, let's round it out to 20% of the population here in the US is Hispanic, that means it's 2 out of every 10 people, right? And half of that is 1 out of every 10 people is Latina. So there you go. And so I always think of Latinas as a group of comadres. It's like, I see you, I see you. And so we should infiltrate. We should have our own CIA, You know, it's the comadres in action. And so we should infiltrate like this, ¿verdad? Infiltrate every single sector, from the local PTA to the HOA to the, you know, school board. Thank you, Johanna. To everywhere, every sector, every industry. So that way we can really be advocates and have a place. So making ourselves available to really, and practice also how to exercise that leadership and that voice. We do it at home. ¿Quién es la jefa en su casa? Yo soy la jefa en mi casa. I don't know. That I feel that's a given, right? We're the matriarchs of the next generation of Americans. And so it's time that we exercise this leadership status and our influence.
Woo! Love that. Okay. So we have advocate for yourself, tell your own stories, and CAA, comadres in action. Let's infiltrate every sector, every area that we can. A takeaway from me, just my 2 cents, being a journalist on television, a storyteller, but not really seeing our stories being told authentically. There came a point where I said, lo voy a tener que hacer yo. O sea, if I don't see it happening, there comes a point where it doesn't make any sense to keep complaining about the fact that it's not happening. You have to take it upon yourself to be like, okay, there are not enough stories about Latinx heroines. There's not enough, books about Latinx women. So I'm going to go ahead and write those books, and I'm going to go ahead and executive produce those shows. So if there's something that you see is not being done, but that you can take on yourself to do, maybe it's like the case with Johanna and the school board. Like, there had never been anyone like her. You get that phone call, I think you should do this. In the beginning, you're like, pero será? I don't know if I'll be able to do that. But then you just, as Samí just said, we are the jefas and we know how to do it. So sometimes it's just arremangarnos nosotras mismas, roll up your sleeves and do it. Final question to wrap up. What happens, for the community and for us as individuals, when we are properly represented? Like, how do we benefit? And I want you to gear your answers toward this very critical election. We're 14 days away. What happens in a community, and how do we benefit when we are represented and when we are our own advocates? And I'm going to start with you, Ashley.
Yes, it's all about empowering one another as well, because when we unite, again, like I had mentioned earlier, that's the best way that I can think about is creating change. I can go alone and have conversations and speak about topics that affect us as Latinas. But when I bring a mass and we go together, people are forced, they're going to listen to you. You're going to demand that attention. And so it's important that when in doing so that we are equitable and, inclusive when it comes to, being represented and, being a part of the movement. And that's the reason why, it's so important as Latinas that, we get out and we vote, and we don't wait until November 3rd, that we actually start creating that change that we need for our communities and our families now, as of today.
Yay. Samí or Johanna, la que quiera, with this question.
Okay. When we're represented, I feel that we know for sure that our voices will be heard, and we know that we have the power to develop initiatives and programs, because we can have that conversation, we have that representation, we have I'm just thinking about my position at this moment. I see a lot of women very engaged in the school board. I did not see that before. So in the school board meetings, we did not see a lot of Latinas engaged in those meetings. And after I was elected, I maybe because they're reading, the posts that I'm doing, bilingual posts. And also another group, Familias Presentes, doing the same thing, Spanish, trying to communicate them the information on a daily basis in their native language, make them more engaged in the school system. So now we have more women engaged in the schools, more Latina women in the school board meetings. So I think that we have to educate our communities in how to become an elected official as well. It's very important to be registered and it's very important to vote, but it's also important to educate our Latinx women to understand how to become an elected official. I think that we need more conversations on that matter. I don't think that we have enough. I think that we have to, to keep talking about this because we are majority Hispanic. We're 43% Hispanics. And sometimes we are not running because we don't know when to start and how to start. So I think that that conversation needs to happen.
And it is happening right here. Thank you for that, Johanna. Samí, what about you? How do our communities benefit, especially gearing up to this all-important election?
We benefit in many ways, but I feel that the number one benefit is that we're part of the solution. So we're taking action and we're capacity building. We're building capacity and then leaving a legacy to our kids so then they can take la batuta, right? And run with it after we've done our work. And then also it's very important that we're represented because then we can help also define what equity means and what fairness means, fair treatment. We can also have a say in allocation of resources, point out where the needs are and how they should be met. And then last but not least, it gives us exposure to our many talents. We are a talented bunch and are very often overseen and overlooked. And I think it behooves America to listen to mommy, to us, las mamás, ¿verdad? When I say mamá, it's not literally mom. Puede ser la tía, la abuela, la comadre, la hermana, everybody. Yes, absolutely, because we kind of know, what we're doing. And the values that we have as part of our culture have been part of the foundation of this country, but they've never been seen with our lens. And I think it's important, that we are present and that we're firm and confident, y que si a veces hay que meterle un chancletazo al asunto, también le metemos un chancletazo al asunto, because sometimes we need to, be firm. Como mami.
La chancleta's out, people. This has been an epic conversation. Listen to las mamitas. La chancleta is out. I love what you said. Latinx stories, our American stories. Let's showcase our talents. We've been contributing to this country for over 500 years, and this country continues to just run on the back of our effort and our families and our talent. So let's showcase that to the world. Don't be shy to do so. Please make a plan to vote. As Johanna said, as Ashley said, as Samí said, it's not about waiting until November 3rd. It's about making your voice heard right now, because even if you think like, oh, what's my vote gonna do? Bueno, primero, we know that in Florida, every single vote counts. And secondly, it's not about also what's happening even at the presidential level, which we know influences our lives, but it's also about how resources are allocated locally. It's about what happens with the hospitals and law enforcement in your community and the schools in your community and your roads, all of that. So you can impact the lives of your family members, of your friends, if you go out and you vote. As a first-time voter, yes, I am so excited to be heading out to the polls this year, and I'm already making my plan. Con suerte y Dios, I'm going to go on Friday, but if not, next week for sure. I want to thank the three of you for this amazing, amazing conversation. I learned so much from the three of you. I leaving feeling so inspired and knowing that we are not invisible, we are invincible. So for more of this empowering kind of content and programming, I want everybody who tuned in today to head to shesepuede.org. And you can also follow our community on Instagram at she_sepuede. Juntas podemos, she se puede. Thank you so much, ladies. Woo-hoo!